You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
The midway point, the official and unofficial midway points of the 2018 Major League and Minor League seasons. It's kind of crazy. This was the latest All-Star game, I think, like in history, and now it's behind us. And now there are not even 2 weeks until the trade deadline, and everything's all out of whack this month, Sam Dykstra.
I know. All of our calendars are just off. Like, we don't know exactly where we are in the season anymore. Somebody mentioned to me the other day we might be talking about short season first half clinchings here coming up.
Oh, man,
Yeah, that just completely came up out of nowhere.
Madness.
Which we can have that discussion another day. Short season leagues should not be having first half, second half championships. But anyway,
I would agree.
If they are going to do them, they're coming up quickly, and that's always a sign that I think as of today, the AAA All-Star Game is 2 months away.
For next year, the 2019.
The 2019 one. Yeah, the way this season is going, yes, the 2019.
Yeah, we're closing in on the 2019 postseason is what it feels like at this stage. But yeah, we are. Well, and what's so weird too, as we welcome you into this week's episode of the Show Before the Show podcast, I'm Tyler Mon. Sam Dykstra is in New York City. The All-Star break being pushed back so far, due in part to, and we got a question about this actually, the Major League All-Star break and the AAA All-Star break used to kind of coincide, and AAA All-Star game would be on like a Tuesday, for example, Major League All-Star game would be on a Wednesday, but this year, AAA All-Star game was last week, Major League All-Star game this week, and opening day was so early in March for the Major Leagues, and then the All-Star game is pushed back due in large part to the World Cup because Fox owned the TV rights for both of those. Coincidentally, that's how things work out when you're monetizing TV rights. But so, you hear all of these records of, this guy just set the mark for most RBIs by this position before the All-Star break, or this team has the most wins before the All-Star break, or whatever. Yeah, because they're playing like 10 more games than most any other season before the All-Star break. It's just a strange calendar season, and it's not the same in that you get out of the All-Star break and now you have basically 3 weeks or more to evaluate whether you're going to be buyers or sellers before the trade deadline. And as we heard last night during the All-Star game, Ken Rosenthal, immediately after Manny Machado leaves the game, coincidentally enough, gets to go to Manny Machado and say, here's what we're hearing about you going to Los Angeles Dodgers. This stuff kicks into extremely high gear now because we're 13 days away. We're recording this on Wednesday the 18th.
Yeah, and we'll get more into this, later in Three Strikes. But Manny Machado is the big guy on the market right now. We don't have any confirmed reports about him going officially to the Dodgers. That seems to be the number one destination everybody's talking about right now. Yusniel Diaz, we'll talk about it in a little bit, seems to be the guy who would be going back. But the Orioles kind of have a history of deals getting very close, getting to the 5-yard line, and then just completely dissipating because of medical records, or they see something else that they don't like and all that. So we won't get into exactly what's being offered, or as of this recording right now, we can't talk about who is going back to the Orioles in a Manny Machado trade until anything's confirmed. So you'll probably have to tune in next week. But it was so weird to see Manny Machado take a selfie with Matt Kemp at second base and us all get flustered about what that means on the trade market, just because it is so close.
Maybe it just means they wanted to take a picture together. Nobody seemed to offer that as an explanation. Matt Kemp said, I don't know what you're talking about to Joe Buck and John Smoltz. We've just been friends for a long time.
Yeah, it's almost like the older generation doesn't understand selfies and that they have to mean something.
Bizarre as that is. The older generation not understanding something about the current generation of baseball. But anyway, with that, we welcome you into this week's episode, the 169th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Nice. 3 strikes coming up. Futures game recap. Sam Dykstra was there at the Futures game on Sunday as the world's best and the best from the United States took part in what ended up as kind of a preview of Tuesday's Major League All-Star game, and that there were home runs galore. 8 homers in the 2018 MLB All-Star Futures game, 4 on each side. The U.S. with a 10-6 victory over the world team. Taylor Trammell, Cincinnati Reds number 3 prospect. He picks up MVP honors, hit a home run, hit a triple in his 2 at-bats, came into the game in the 5th inning and earns the MVP there. But a really fun game. I mean, a game if you are somebody who enjoys exit velocity, somebody who enjoys pitching velocity. It was a lot of fun. And, did kind of give you that feel of baseball in 2018. A lot of home runs, some strikeouts, the way the game is played nowadays, which, newsflash, is not a bad way for the game to be played, but neither here nor there. Sam, give us your reaction on what stood out from this week's or this season's Futures game.
Yeah, so we always talk about the Futures game as being a showcase. Basically, that's what it is. I know some people like to watch batting practice, especially prospect hounds and prospect writers who are in to evaluate guys. You want to see how they're going to do in a controlled environment like that, and when they can really show off their power and they're not going up against 95, 98 mile an hour fastballs. But the game itself this year was a perfectly good showcase for some of these guys' talents and what they can be, when they are going 100% and when they are, throwing as hard as they can, swinging as hard as they can, trying to show off a little bit. Taylor Trammell said, you mentioned he hit a home run and he hit a triple. That second hit he came in the middle of the game. He thought it was gone. It went out deep center about as far as it could have. And he started to trot around the bases and flew up a 2 sign to the U.S. dugout saying, "That's my second homer. I'm going to enjoy this a little bit." Then realizing that wasn't gone. And, he's fast enough. He's athletic enough. He made it to third base, no problem. Not a huge deal. Even if he was sprinting out of the box, probably wasn't going to be an inside the park home run. But he said, listen, I'm going to get some stuff from my parents, from my brother later for that. I always try 100%, but I'm going to have my TV time too. And it felt like those guys, I talked to a couple of them before the game and everybody said, you just got to treat it like a regular game. Didn't quite look like that was happening. I think guys were really having a lot of fun and really trying to show themselves off. So Trammell was definitely somebody who, coming into the game, he's had a solid year at Class A Advanced Daytona. Certainly through his first 2 seasons or 2 first full seasons in the Red system, has built himself into kind of an all-around talent. We've had him on the podcast before. Just really does everything well. It has tons of speed to burn, but showed a good amount of power, both in BP and actually in the game. And that makes you start to question him a little bit. What could this guy really be going forward? He's not really been a home run hitter so far this season, but he's also playing in the Class A Advanced Florida State League. What happens when he gets out of the pitchers' parks that are in Florida? I'll be really excited to see that. Kind of staying in that same Red system. Hunter Green, who I had a story about before the game, both Hunter Green and Joe Adell in the Angels system both competed in the high school home run derby that is held before the Futures game. They did that in 2016 in San Diego. And Joe Adell said, I remember going to that game and thinking, man, we're really far away from actually being able to participate in this. The guys who are in the Futures game are so far ahead of us. 2 years later, both of them were participants and were 2 of the toolsiest prospects there. But just to go back to Green threw 19 fastballs in the game, all of which were measured according to StatCast at being over 100 miles an hour.
Jeez.
It was absolute gas. And, talking to players after the game, Tyler, you mentioned the 8 home runs. That's a Futures game record. The old record was 4 home runs. So this is double the amount of home runs we had previously seen in a Futures game. Nobody homered in last year's game in Miami. I asked, what was there anything about this game that made that special, that allowed this to happen? Obviously, it could just be a one-off. But with the way the game is kind of going right now, it's homer friendly, it's strikeout friendly, whatever. what happened here. And a lot of them said, listen, we're going up against guys throwing gas. They're providing the power. If we can make contact, the ball's going to go a long way. And that's what happened, specifically with Hunter Green. He topped out at 103 miles an hour. He threw one pitch to Luis Alexander Basabe from the White Sox system, the starting center fielder for the world team on Sunday. It was 102.3 miles an hour coming in. It was 104.8 miles per hour going out. It was a home run. Basabe kind of also in that group with Trammell of, super toolsy guy. Basabe's not a top 100 prospect yet, but to see him homer off that special kind of velocity was really, really cool. So, just watching the game, Peter Alonso also had a moonshot of a home run. That was absolutely nuts. I think it was the highest launch angle ever hit by a home run in StatCast history. Or at least given the launch angle and the exit velocity, nobody has ever hit a home run that has reached both of those measures before. He said it was like lightning hit the tip of his bat when he made contact. He could feel it was something special. Even he said, this is my chance to kind of show off. I've never played in a game like this before. I wanted to do something special, and he feels like he did. He thought it was the furthest he'd ever hit. It wasn't actually the furthest hit in the game, I don't think. But still, it was, the type of stuff we all were going gaga over in the home run derby the next night. That was the stuff happening in the futures game. So it was really a lot of fun to be there, a lot of fun to watch it happen. And hopefully you guys got to watch it too on Sunday, because you really missed a good one if you didn't get a chance to see it.
Well, you talked about some of the guys who made an impression on you. Strike two, we were going to discuss who do you think bumped their stock most on Sunday. Fernando Tatis Jr. goes out and gets a couple of hits. A guy who it sounds like, may be talking about a lot here in the coming days and weeks. Yusniel Diaz goes out and gets a couple of hits. There are only 3 players on that world roster that had multiple hits on the day. Over on the other side for the United States, Taylor Trammell, we noted. Alex Kirilloff goes out and gets 2 hits himself. What does the stock rise, the highest stock rise, look like among players in this game? Who did it belong to?
Yeah, I think it belonged to Yusniel Diaz, which is interesting because he, like I said before, he is being paired now with that potential Manny Machado to the Dodgers trade. He seems to be the guy that everybody has circled as the headliner going the other way. I don't know if that's really going to correlate in terms of, just because he did well on Sunday, he's automatically going to be the next headliner in the big blockbuster trade of the summer. But at the same time, he was the first futures gamer to homer twice in the futures game since Alfonso Soriano in 1999 at Fenway Park, and that was the first futures game. So it's very rare to see guys homer twice in this game. He was the only one to do so. Definitely seemed in line to take the MVP award until Trammell won it, because the U.S. won it, and that's how we give out MVPs. But Diaz, he's been a strong hitter this year at AA Tulsa. He's hitting 314, 428, 477, only hitting 6 home runs on the season. So, everything I've seen about him and heard about him is that the power will probably eventually come. But to see him put it together that well against, some really strong arms is really impressive, and definitely a big point in his favor. Kind of going the same way, Ke'Bryan Hayes also hit a home run in the game. I wrote about him for a tool shed last week before the futures game about how special his defense is at third base. A lot of people think he has Gold Glove caliber defense. And he's already won a Gold Glove in the minor leagues. He was a Gold Glove winner last year for all of the minor leagues when he played at Class A Advanced Bradenton, now with AA Altoona. And the thing with him offensively is, well, if he can start tapping into that power, we might be having something really special here. Otherwise, he's kind of like an average third baseman with a really special glove, and that's where all the value is going to come from. So to see him homer on a big stage like that, it raises some eyebrows and makes us think, okay, maybe the power really will come with him as he matures, as he gets older, as he starts to fill out. And just with Hunter Green, that type of velocity, you're not going to ever see that. I thought Jorge Guzman from the Marlins system, formerly of the Yankee system, I thought he was going to be the guy to really light up the gun. I thought Green could potentially do it, maybe hit 100, 101, something like that. But for him to throw the 19 fastest pitches in the game all to himself, StatCast used to have the Chapman filter. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah.
You looked up highest velocity for a year, it was all Aroldis Chapman. So if you wanted to find anybody else, you had to click a button to basically eliminate Chapman. Now we might have to have that with Jordan Hicks, but time might come where we're going to have to do that with Hunter Green too. Just absolutely insane that he had the 19 fastest pitches in that game. Guzman had the 20th, and that was 99.7 miles per hour, which is still amazingly good. But when Green's hitting triple digits with every fastball he was throwing, that opened up a lot of guys' eyes, especially people I talked to after the game. I talked to Danny Jansen, the catcher for the U.S. team, who caught Hunter Green. He caught Mitch Keller, who was also hitting the upper 90s. And I said, "Does your hand hurt?" He's like, "I really thought it would. I was really worried there for a while. It doesn't, but I was worried." He said, you want to put down the cheddar every time when you're catching those guys, because it's just such special velocity. Alonso dropped Green's name without being prompted. Trammell dropped his name without being prompted. So I think a lot of these guys know, they're going to have to be watching Hunter Green. He's only at Class A Dayton right now, but as he climbs the ladder, that's velocity that a lot of these guys are going to have to worry about someday.
I think it's cool, too, is the way that people more and more every year take notice of the Futures game and what it means and what the type of talent is in the Futures game annually. I was on doing an interview with a radio station in Austin, Texas yesterday, and the guys asked specifically about the Futures game and, what it needs to be marketed better, because it's such an exciting game and people have really started to tune into it and have gotten excited about it. But in order to put it on the same type of footing as the Home Run Derby, what needs to be put out there about it? I don't know what needs to be put out there about it, because I think people have really started to realize just how awesome the Futures game is every year, which is really cool, because 10 years ago I think it was more of a niche thing, but now you look at, there was the picture that Jose Barrios put on his Instagram this week, which was him, Francisco Lindor, and Javier Baez at the Futures game 4 years ago, and then yesterday or 2 days ago at the Home Run Derby together, which is so neat. Those guys, that's not a long track from the Futures game to being in the All-Star game, and people I think have started to realize just how close all of these guys, the Futures game level, are to being bona fide major leaguers and major league stars in a lot of cases, which is really neat.
Yeah, and you can tell this means something to these guys too. You mentioned Barrios, but the fact that it stays with them going forward. There were a couple people, I know Touki Toussaint said this was a goal of his coming into the year. People pay attention to it. The players pay attention to it, and they try to rise to the level of the Futures game. And if they're going to all be as exciting as this one, don't you dare miss it next year. Where is the All-Star game next year? Is it Cleveland?
Cleveland.
If you're in the Cleveland area, seriously look into going. If you're going to go to the All-Star game, I was in Washington over the weekend walking around. I wish I could count how many different types of major league shirts and just all across the spectrum. Obviously DC is the capital of the country, and there's going to be people from all over anyways, but this is really an event, a weekend, a week even, that brings people all over the country together. And if you could show up a day or two early, to see the Futures game and really see these guys, you're going to be surprised at what you see. I know David Ortiz said, I looked up and a lot of these guys look like major leaguers. These don't look just like young guns anymore. The product is very exciting, so check it out if you get a chance.
Wrapping it up with Strike 3 this week, had the Manny Machado deal gone to official status? We were going to break that down, but we're still waiting on that. Undoubtedly, by the time we release this episode, it'll be horribly outdated, and that will have been confirmed to be official, because that's the way things go when you record podcasts. But instead, we're going to talk about, with the deadline coming up here in the next 13 days, who are some of the prospects, Sam, that you feel like could be most implicated in trade deadline deals? Every year it comes down to, it seems like a handful of top 100 guys, top 50 guys who really swing big deals at the trade deadline. Which prospects on contending clubs do you think could use a change of scenery as we get toward the deadline?
Yeah, so this isn't necessarily guys we're hearing that are going to be traded or are on the block or anything like that, but just in terms of, who would we like to see traded? There are prospects who are in contending organizations that, are naturally going to be blocked. If you're contending, that means you have a good roster and you're not necessarily having to bring up the kids to fill holes. And one guy in particular came to mind when I came up with this, and we've mentioned the Dodgers being involved in trades, and their names, they're going to continuously come up, and everybody who is looking to make a trade with the Dodgers is going to be checking out their prospect pool. And I haven't heard this guy's name out there at all, but I would love to see him get a chance somewhere, because I do think he is major league ready, and he just continually gets not necessarily passed over for major league looks, but there just isn't the space for him right now. Is Alex Verdugo in the Los Angeles Dodgers system. He's only 22. This is his second season at AAA, but the guy can just really hit the ball. He's hitting 350 right now with a 397 OBP, a 909 OPS, 8 homers, 16 doubles. Rarely strikes out, has one of the better arms you're ever going to see in the outfield. Can really play all three spots. They've played him in left because that's where they thought they were going to have the biggest opening until, Matt Kemp is a National League All-Star in the year of our Lord 2018. The Dodgers thought, Verdugo would maybe take Kemp's spot at some point. That hasn't happened because Kemp has actually been really good, which all due credit to him. He certainly earned his spot on the All-Star team. Whether he should have been starting, that's a conversation for another time. But, the fact that the Dodgers continually churn out these guys like Kemp getting better, Max Muncy breaking out, Chris Taylor was kind of in that group before. Guys like Verdugo are going to get blocked. I think that's just the way it goes. So I would love to see Verdugo kind of get a chance to be a major league outfielder somewhere else. Now, last year with Yu Darvish, the Dodgers were involved in one of the biggest trades at the deadline, and they ended up giving up Willie Calhoun, who definitely seems surplus to requirements. Nobody knows exactly where he can play defensively. Is he a DH? That seemed to work out well for him in terms of now he's with Texas. It doesn't matter where he plays. He can eventually find a DH spot potentially with them, whether he's second base, left field, whatever. Verdugo doesn't necessarily need to go to an organization like that. I think he could help almost anybody. So I would like to see him get that chance. He's not a power hitter, so he does lose some points for that. But he's also basically a consensus top 30 prospect, and the Dodgers aren't going to be willing to give that up so easily. Is there a piece out there that the Dodgers could trade for where they could give up Verdugo? I don't necessarily see it. He's more likely to help them in September. I would just like to see him get regular major league at-bats, because I don't know what else he has to prove after 180 career games at AAA.
So that is 3 strikes for this week's episode, number 169 of the show before the show. And coming up, we're going to head to the San Francisco Giants organization. Right-handed pitcher Shaun Anderson, a guy who was acquired in a 2017 trade and has really put a stamp on that system with AA Richmond in the 2018 season, joins the show after his promotion to the AAA Sacramento River Cats, which just happened. So we'll talk to Shaun Anderson as he moves on up to the Pacific Coast League next. The San Francisco Giants organization in the Pacific Coast League is where we head next. That's where we find the 7th-ranked prospect in the Giants system, the pitcher Shaun Anderson, who has just been bumped up to the AAA Sacramento River Cats from the AA Richmond Flying Squirrels right after being a Futures game selection. It's been a pretty boring, mundane couple of weeks for you, it sounds like. Shaun, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. I wouldn't say it's too boring. It's been my pleasure.
This is nuts. For you to go from, being a Futures game selection, the excitement that comes along with that, you're in Washington, D.C., it's All-Star Game Week, all the stuff that goes into being part of a showcase event like that, and then all of a sudden, oh, by the way, you're going up to AAA also. What has this last few days been like for you? Because not many guys, get either one of those experiences, and then to have them back-to-back is pretty incredible.
Yeah, it's been a busy week. I found out a couple days before I left for the Futures game that I was going to AAA, and honestly just been focusing on one thing to the next. So the Futures game is what the main event was that I was focusing on, and then as soon as Monday came, I planned to come on to Sacramento. So it's been a busy week.
You told us just before we started recording you had the option to go back to Richmond and kind of grab some of your stuff before you headed off to the West Coast. You guys are in Fresno, so you get to jump right into the Sacramento-Fresno rivalry, which is pretty cool. But for people who are not familiar with what all this takes, just take us through the whirlwind of you're in Washington, obviously not a super long trip to Richmond, but to head there, hustle through packing all your stuff up. You got to get your whole life together, and then all of a sudden you're on the way out to the West Coast, and it's not that there, I would imagine, are not a whole lot of direct Richmond to Fresno flights, so I would think that travel was probably pretty exhausting too. But what were all the steps like to get from DC to where you are now?
That's kind of the behind the scenes thing. Not many fans or kind of people watching really know kind of what goes on when that happens. And just, you have to unpack from where you're living in your apartment, and then you have to find another place to live in Sacramento. And there's just so much that goes on, especially if you had a car. Like I had my car in Richmond. But the Giants have been great with travel. Even when I got traded last year, they gave me the opportunity on whatever was easier for me, and they've been great with that. And it's honestly made moving so much less stressful. And they actually gave me the opportunity to go back to Richmond if I wanted to pack up all my stuff, and that was perfect because I wasn't going to start for the next couple of days, and I was able to go home and pack the stuff I really needed and pack up my car. And my dad actually came back with me from when I came to DC, and he was able to drive my car home, which worked out perfect. And that wouldn't have happened if the Giants wanted me to go straight to Sac, So I definitely credit them for making this as least stressful as possible.
Yeah, and when you did go home to pack, what was the first thing that you made sure was in your bag to go to Sacramento or to go to the West Coast?
Well, actually, the first bag I packed was my baseball stuff, and I got to make sure that I have all that, because if I don't have that, then, that's what I'm going there to do, is play baseball. So that's the first priority bag was make sure everything fits in that bag and make sure it's under 50 pounds. And then when I went home, I just started packing the clothes that I needed.
Yeah, and so you talked about the Futures game. Let's get into your experience a little bit there. I was at the game. I got to see you pitch. You came in the seventh inning. You're going up against Leody Taveras, Fernando Tatis Jr., Yusniel Diaz, Elliot Ramos. Obviously it's a prospect-packed event. But what was it like coming in that atmosphere, coming up against that lineup specifically, and just kind of describe your one inning on the mound there when you did take the mound in Washington?
Yeah, honestly, the 6 innings that I was watching the game, I was itching to pitch. I wasn't even sitting. I had to pace around the bullpen, and I was pumped to get in. And just seeing the lineup and kind of watching the guys going to pitch from the bullpen and seeing who they have to face. The competition speaks for itself. The amount of talent that was on that field is really incredible. And then when it's finally my time to pitch, I ran out there, and it seemed like the inning went by so fast. Just the excitement and all the fans that were there. And, the first 2 outs went by so quick. I was like, oh, my gosh, I can get one more. And, the inning's over already. And I guess the inning kind of got extended a little bit, which, it is what it is. But, it was so nice being able to kind of face those guys and even have the defense I had behind me. And even after that 7th inning, when I came in the dugout, like the amount of just love for baseball that was in that dugout, and everyone was pulling for themselves, even though we played against each other throughout the year. And it was competition at that point, it was as if we were teammates for 3 years, 5 years, and everyone was all hyped for each other, and everyone was backing up each other and giving each other hugs. It was an incredible kind of just atmosphere to be in.
And we should give a little bit of background just so people who are listening know. You're probably not going to want me to do this, but when you say it got extended a little bit, it's because Yusniel Diaz hit a home run to center field off you. But what is your kind of approach in a game like this where you only have 1 inning? You have a history of relief going back to your time in college, and we'll get into that later. But, when you are on a big stage like this, it's being shown on national television. You're getting a chance to show Giants fans, baseball fans in general, what kind of pitcher you are. How do you approach, when you are just facing a handful of batters at a time?
Yeah, you're facing a handful of batters with a ton of experience, and it's not like the game actually truly means stuff for winning and losing. But I mean, regardless, every time you take the mound, you want to win. You want to beat the guy that's in the box. So you don't really, you can't back down regardless of what kind of the game is. But yeah, I mean, I think going in, I knew everyone's geared for fastballs. I mean, no one wants to miss the fastball, especially guys coming out throwing 98, 100, 96, and they don't want to miss the fastball. And you can kind of tell by some of the swings they were taking on off speed, but I wasn't going to come in and throw all off speed, and I kind of want to show the fastball that I have. And Yasiel Diaz got me on one of them, but I mean, that's just how the game works, and should have been located a little better. But you just kind of go there and attack the hitters, throw strikes, and just kind of let your defense play, because I mean, they're pretty good too.
Right, yeah, and you got to experience a little bit of that with Buddy Reed making a really nice snag, your former Florida guy as well. But you went up against Elliot Ramos, a Giants prospect himself. What is it like going up against somebody who could potentially be your teammate one day? And he singled up the middle off you. Have you given him any crap for like, hey, what was that about? We're supposed to be on the same side here.
I wanted to face him. I wanted to get the opportunity to face him. I thought that'd be a cool giant on giant matchup that we had. And
there you go.
Yeah, I threw him a good cut fastball inside that he took, and I thought the two seam right off that would either weak contact or broken bat or something, but it just kind of stayed straight, and he put a good swing on it like he should. And I mean, he beat me. That's just how it is. But I haven't given him crap yet. I don't really. I met him once in spring training, and I mean, I know how hard he works, and I know he's a good dude. So I'm sure next time we catch up, I'll give him a little bit of crap for it. But I mean, it was cool. It was fun.
Shaun, let's talk about your road to get to this point. A third-round draft selection of the Red Sox in 2016, traded in 2017 to the Giants, and now you climb that ladder so quickly and go from being a guy who, this time 2 years ago, you're just getting your feet wet in pro ball. Now you're a step below the major leagues. But I want to go back a little bit further than that. Back in 2013, you were the last selection in the Major League Baseball first-year player draft coming out of high school by the Washington Nationals. The first line in your MLB Pipeline bio points it out, which I'm sure you're never annoyed with hearing, but the 1,216th overall pick, you forgo signing, you go to Florida, and you bump your stock 37 rounds to the third round. What changed most about you from the time that you were picked coming out of high school to go into Florida, being part of that insanely talented group there, and then being taken in the third round by the Red Sox 3 years later?
Wow, that's a lot, but honestly, I think experience. I mean, when I was playing in high school, I mean, I thought I was good. I thought I did pretty well against the competition that we were facing, and I got the opportunity to go to the University of Florida, and it was a whole different perspective. I mean, you play people around the United States, and you come to realize how much talent is really out there. And playing in the SEC, I mean, you get hit around a little bit, and you have to learn how to pitch, and you have to ask questions, and you have to learn how to take care of your body, and just all that maturity that goes into it is really something you learn when you go to college. And definitely that's something I learned my past 3 years when I was at Florida.
That group, I mean, the amount of talent that you were around in your time at Florida, we talk with some of the big-time program guys about what exactly it takes to be successful in a program like that, but you didn't even start when you were at Florida, and a lot of that is probably due in large part to the depth that they had. Being a reliever in college and then converting to being a starter at the professional level, we hear that go in the opposite way so often with starters who move into the bullpen, but what was the biggest adjustment for you getting into pro ball and turning yourself into a starter after having been primarily a reliever in college?
Yeah, I really wanted to be a starter. I was a starter in high school, and I wanted to start when I got to the University of Florida. But like you said, the depth we had with Logan Shore, Alex Faedo, AJ Puck, Dane Dunning, there wasn't much room to be a starter. So when there was an opening in the bullpen as a closer, I mean, I jumped on that and wanted to be the best closer I could be. I wanted to pitch, and I wanted to throw in the SEC games. Yeah, I mean, just like you said, it's a big transition. I was able to start in the summer leagues when I went and played, but ultimately when I got drafted, I wanted to be a starter, and if they were going to draft me, I wanted to be a starter, and the Red Sox respected that, and the Red Sox picked me up. And I think, honestly, the biggest thing that I've taken away from it was the mentality. The mentality as a reliever, as a closer. You're coming in with runners on, and it's a close game. And I take that into starting, and I almost treat every inning as if it's the ninth inning, you know. And I mean, you want to attack hitters, you want to get ahead, and you want to get as least runners on as possible.
Yeah, and when you were going through a reliever, you talked about the mentality there, but what about your arsenal? Usually closers are kind of, you know, if you're Mariano Rivera and you have one really good pitch, they're one pitch guys, or sometimes they're two pitch guys. You're somebody who works with a pretty well fleshed out 4-pitch arsenal right now. What was your approach to, you know, mixing pitches when you were a closer, and how do you feel like that kind of either helped or, you know, made it more of a transition when you were going back to starting?
Well, when I was a reliever in college, I was mainly fastball slider. I would throw an occasional curveball, but it wasn't my go-to. And I maybe threw one changeup all year, junior year, and mainly fastball slider. I relied heavily on my slider. And when I went into pro ball, I knew I needed to develop my changeup and my curveball a little bit more. And I honestly didn't really start throwing a decent changeup or a good changeup until this year. You know, it's something I really, really wanted to focus on coming into this year, was developing my changeup. And it's been such a huge pitch for me this year. And working with Glenn Dishman, our pitching coach in Richmond, just when to throw the changeup in the right counts, and kind of where to start the changeup to get the swing and misses and to get the ground balls you needed to. But just learning how to pitch with other pitches besides fastball slider, that's been really my development coming in as a starter, and being able to face the lineup 2 or 3 times. Having that changeup really helped.
Yeah, and you know, Tyler brought up you going through the trade last year. You know, we talked to you about this earlier too, in terms of the stuff that happens behind the scenes and moving and all that kind of stuff. But for somebody, you know, who went through a trade last year and was on the other side of it, you know, you get traded for a major leaguer and Eduardo Nunez, and everybody focuses on the major league side, but you're somebody who went through it on the minor league side. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who is, you know, a minor leaguer who gets traded, or somebody who's looking to see, you know, what that is like? From, you know, the lower levels when you are switching organizations, you know, what is that transition like to a new organization, to a new philosophy maybe, and just physically, you know, what was it like switching teams completely?
I would say trust the process. I mean, you hear that everywhere, but that's something that I went through when I got traded. I trusted the process, and I realized that God had a plan for me, and He wanted me to fly out to California the next day, you know, and it came out of nowhere, the trade. I got a call at around midnight. When we were in Wilmington, I got a call from our head coach and said, "There's no easy way to say this, but you got traded to the San Francisco Giants. I don't really have much information, but someone will call you." And I had no idea that I was even on the board to get traded. You know, I was having a decent year, and I mean, I was just enjoying every game playing with the Salem Red Sox. And the fact that I got traded is just, you don't really know what to think, because you have so many friends, and you know, you try to win every single game for your club, and getting traded, you got to go to another club and try to win every single game. But, you know, the Giants made it easy for me. They allowed me to pack up all my stuff and fly out a couple days later. And, I mean, the most advice I would say is just trust the process, because, I mean, it's been a most unbelievable experience for me, and I couldn't be more happy for what organization I'm playing for right now.
Shaun, being at that level now for the first time at AAA, you're going to get tested against so many different types of talents, guys who already have major league experience, some guys who are kind of finishing school on the way to the major leagues, all that type of stuff. What are you most excited about seeing in AAA and being able to test yourself against versus what you saw in AA?
I'm honestly just going into it looking at it, it's still baseball. You know, I'm still 60 feet away, and you know, as cliche as that sounds, that it's just baseball. I mean, the hitters are still hitters, you know, and there's still weaknesses and there's still strengths. And I'm honestly looking forward to playing with this AAA ball club and seeing different stadiums, facing competition that are ex-major leaguers and are potentially future major leaguers. You know, the competition is going to be better, but I'm looking forward to just helping Sacramento get on a roll and win a couple games. Do everything I can to help that.
You have to learn how to like talk trash about Fresno, especially because you jump like right into that rivalry. That's like the first thing that they teach you as a River Cat, I think.
Oh, it's a big rivalry here. I didn't know that.
I mean, Tyler wants it to be a thing. It doesn't have to be a thing.
You don't have to hate another. Talking bad about each other on Twitter. Come on, Sam.
Hey,
And you have
that's
to
the
eat
thing. I get
tacos.
if that's the thing, I have my opportunity tomorrow to kind of give the River Cats a little edge. So I'm gonna do the best I can to help that out.
There you go. Shaun Anderson of the San Francisco Giants. You can find Shaun on Twitter. He's at Shaun, SHAUN Anderson 37. And now you can find him with the Sacramento River Cats as well in the AAA Pacific Coast League. And Shaun, thanks so much for the time, man. Congratulations on all the success so far this season, and best of luck in the PCL. Enjoy it.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
On the road is Benjamin Hill. We find him in Charlotte, North Carolina this week, as the Charlotte Knights will play host to one Benjamin Hill this evening, and in a swanky hotel from what we understand. Hello, Ben.
Yeah. Hello, Tyler. Hello, Sam. Neither of you are sitting to my left or right. I am all alone. And what turned out to be a pretty swanky hotel. I booked it on Hotels.com, and I'm here on the 17th floor, and there's a rooftop bar on the 18th floor I haven't been to. But maybe tonight after the game, I'll be living the high life on sipping a fine cocktail on a rooftop bar. That's how I live on the road, basically.
Does it have a view of the ballpark? We know about the ballpark view in Charlotte. Can you see the ballpark from the hotel, from the rooftop bar, maybe?
Probably from the rooftop bar. My hotel or my room looks in the other direction.
Okay.
I can tell you right now, I see a very busy road that I should know what it is because I drove in on it, but I forget. And there's a Target and a BJ's and a bunch of big buildings. It's not, I'm looking away from the city is what I'm trying to tell you.
Okay, that makes sense.
So
well,
it's not very exciting.
Ben is trekking through the hotbed of minor league baseball that is the Southeast, already through Florida and one stop in technically South Carolina now. The Augusta Green Jackets play in North Augusta, which is in South Carolina, and now in Charlotte, halfway through this trip. But give us a rundown of what it's been like. You've got a chance to stop in Jacksonville and Kissimmee and Daytona, and now through Augusta and into Charlotte, into the Carolinas. What have the first 4 stops been like on this trip with Charlotte coming up tonight?
Yeah, per usual, it's been a whirlwind, and it's kind of hard for me to believe. What day is it? It's Wednesday. I've only been gone for about 5 days because these days on the road are they last a long time, man. But I started, with the Florida Fire Frogs in Kissimmee. I'd never been there before. It was one of 4 ballparks I'd yet to go to, active ballparks. And Osceola County Stadium, former Houston Astros spring training complex. The Florida Fire Frogs are the team that used to be the Brevard County Manatees. And I really enjoyed it there. You guys know, and I'm sure a lot of listeners know, some don't, but the Florida State League is a really tough league to operate in, really hard to draw fans. It's hot, it rains a lot. Kind of got a touristy population in a lot of cases, a lot of other entertainment options. So if you look at my blog post from the Florida Fire Frogs and read stuff that I'll do in the coming days and weeks, you're not going to see a packed ballpark. But I really liked the staff there, for not succumbing to the Florida State League inertia and just really going for it. So I was there on a Friday. They had Bark in the Park. They were wearing Latin Heritage jerseys, Coquille frogs, which is what the Florida Fire Frog references in the first place, a type of frog, pretty common in Puerto Rico. And they also had Free Beer Friday. They usually do it on Thursdays, but they'd had a rain out or something like that. So they did their first ever Free Beer Friday. So it was free cups of PBR until the opposing team scored. And that lasted through the first 3 innings until the Marauders scored in the 4th. So they're really going all out. And then they wore Beatles-themed jerseys the next night. And, I really respect it because it's a very hard market to operate in, or league to operate in. And they are not just giving up and throwing open the door to 100 retirees. They're really trying to engage with the community. So if you're ever down that way, don't get, sucked into the allure of Disney World and whatnot. Go see a Florida Fire Frogs game. That's my advice. So that was cool. And then up to Daytona, another Florida State League team, and definitely anomaly in the Florida State League, and that they're the only team that plays in their own ballpark, Jackie Robinson ballpark with a lot of history. Every other team in that league plays in a spring training facility of some kind. So Daytona has their own unique thing going on. And I was there for Big Shelbowski night, a Big Lebowski promotion. So that was a lot of fun. Participate in the pregame lawn bowling tournament, referencing Big Lebowski and, bowling and how common that was in the movie. Of course, White Russian drink specials. got to participate in the between inning contest, a ball cleaning contest like Jesus from the film, or Jesus cleans his bowling ball. So little edgy, that contest, having to clean those balls. But a lot of fun there. One hitch was that the Big Shelbowski bobblehead did not arrive in time. It got held up in customs, so fans had to get a voucher instead of getting a pretty cool bobblehead, which featured the dude with a turtle shell on his back. That's the Daytona Tortugas. They're a turtle team. They're paying tribute to the Big Lebowski, so why not have the dude with a turtle shell on his back? It's minor league baseball. But Jackie Robinson Ballpark is really one of my favorite ballparks in the minor leagues. And again, if you're ever near that way, highly recommend getting to go to a game there. And it's called Jackie Robinson Ballpark because that's where Jackie Robinson played spring training in 1946, prior to his first season in which he integrated, the International League, along with a couple other players with the Montreal Royals. Anyway, from there to Jacksonville, another big promotion. Unfortunately, a 2.5-hour rain delay, but they got everything in, and it was Jumbo Shrimp did Words with Fans Night, a celebration of the 70th anniversary of Scrabble. So they wore Scrabble-themed jerseys, and they had North American Scrabble champion Will Anderson in attendance, who threw out a first pitch, but also took on 30 people in a Scrabble game at once on the concourse. So I got to interview Will, talk to him about Scrabble, and I got a story on that promotion coming up on Thursday, the same day that this podcast drops. So it was great to be in Jacksonville. And also the last time I was in Jacksonville was 2015, the last year where Pedro Bregan had owned the team. His family had owned the team for decades. So now it's the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, new ownership, Ken Babby, totally different culture there. So it was kind of interesting to see how much it changed within that ballpark in just a few short years. And then went to Augusta. And as you mentioned, Tyler, it is not the Augusta Green Jackets do not play in Georgia anymore. Their new ballpark is across the Savannah River in South Carolina. So it's North Augusta, South Carolina, SRP Park, the only new ballpark opening in minor league baseball this year. And, like a lot of new ballparks, it's still a work in progress. It opened in time, which is great. And minor league baseball hasn't had the best track record in recent years with parks opening on time. So it's great to see that it opened. And, real nice facility, obviously. And there's a lot developing around it in terms of hotels and, the quintessential live, work, play sort of areas. And the parking garages are far enough away from the ballpark where you literally get picked up by team employees and driven to the ballpark in a golf cart, which is a necessity, but then it also kind of ties into Augusta and the Masters and the role golf plays. So, it all kind of makes sense, rolling up to the ballpark in a golf cart. And here I am in Charlotte, going to see the Knights tonight. And earlier today, I'm raising money for versus Cancer this year. And earlier today, I went to the Levine Children's Hospital and got to do an interview there and get a tour of the facility. Beautiful place. Real honor to be a part of that. And going to see the Knights shortly and getting that spectacular view of downtown Charlotte from BB&T Ballpark.
And to kind of take us through that trip a little bit more to Augusta, you've seen some of the other newer parks like Hartford and El Paso of recent years. How does this kind of compare that SRP park to some of the other newer ones you've seen in the last 5 years or so?
It doesn't jump out as much as maybe a Hartford or El Paso in terms of the surrounding area. But, it's very much in line with everything you'd expect from a new minor league ballpark. It goes without saying, but, wide open 360-degree concourse, lots of group areas. There's going to be a barbecue place / brewery opening in right field pretty soon, which will, I think, add a lot to it. One thing that new ballparks have or are starting to have, and we're going to see a lot more of it, and SRP Park has this, is LED lights, which literally flick on and off at the flick of a switch, as opposed to the typical, firing up the lights and needing a lot of time for them to come on. And you can synchronize these lights. If a player on the home team hits a home run, you can synchronize them and do a little light show as he rounds the bases, which is a pretty cool thing. I wish I'd been there for a night game. When I was there Monday night, it got rained out. But I think the lights are going to be a big part of that ballpark in terms of the fan experience. And there's also a lot of cool multicolored lights, rimming the perimeter of the ballpark. That just kind of that add to the character there. So, but as I said before, it's kind of a work in progress. There's not a lot of signage up there, or things referencing Augusta's baseball history. Things within the ballpark like the brewery barbecue need to open still. So I think we'll more fleshed out operation within next year certainly, and within the next couple of years. I think it will be really when it comes into its own.
Ben, with Charlotte on deck, we've heard so much about Charlotte in reference to, potential major league expansion. Charlotte comes up a lot, which always, for those of us on the minor league side, always seems bizarre because they built this ballpark, which is instantly was one of the classics, the instant classics and the cornerstone gem ballparks in minor league baseball. That team is kind of one of the real turnaround stories because before they moved into that ballpark in downtown Charlotte, they were actually located similarly to Augusta. They were across the state line in South Carolina, but they've turned themselves into a real gem of a franchise now, due in large part to BB&T Ballpark in downtown Charlotte. What's the feel that you get there, especially now that ballpark is established, that team has been there for a few seasons? They're really part of the fabric of that community in Charlotte now, and it's kind of strange for us as people on the minor league side to hear, oh, Charlotte's a team that could be primed for a major league team eventually someday, because that ballpark right now, I mean, they're a staple now in AAA and of the minor league landscape that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. I mean, if you want to succeed, if you want to succeed, but a big part of a minor league team's success is, being in the downtown and being able to draw on the surrounding energy and also serving as a catalyst for new things to pop up around you. So, when the Charlotte Knights played in South Carolina, even though it was a big market, they didn't really draw very well. And now, like, as you said, very much just a big part of the city landscape, and they're drawing all sorts of fans who love to come downtown, younger crowds, people who might not be baseball fans, but who just want to go there to socialize, have excellent views, good drink specials, everything that, minor league baseball offers. And it's funny, when that ballpark was built, there's always a lot of contentious back and forth in building a ballpark. And I can't remember his name, but there was a local businessman who kept suing the Knights to stop the project. And I forget the legal rationale, but one of his main arguments was that you build this ballpark and then it's going to be that much harder to build a major league facility because Charlotte is a major league town. I forget the specifics of that, but that was literally one of the arguments against building it. So now with this ballpark and the Knights, it is such a integral part of Charlotte right now, and Charlotte's landscape, and Charlotte's, being one of its biggest entertainment destinations. So if Charlotte ever became a major league park, it would be strange to say, what are we going to do with this top-notch AAA facility? But obviously that's a debate for, later down the road, if and when it gets that far.
And just to go back to Daytona as well, I was going through your Twitter feed before, and always when you go on these trips, you always find the characters, I feel like, pretty easily, much more easily than I would when I go to a ballpark. And one stood out to me was the Dickster in Daytona.
The Dickster.
Dickster, yeah, who calls himself, I'm the mayor of this ballpark. You can ask anybody. And the photograph to go with it is hilarious with that quote. But what could you tell us about, like, some of the characters along with the Dickster you've kind of met through your time in South Carolina, Florida, and now North Carolina?
Yeah, not too many. When I was with the Florida Fire Frogs, I met a woman named Lisa, and she was in the teen store during, like, a pregame autograph signing. And, I forget the players' full names, but she actually had signs for every single player in the on the team, like really well-made signs. Like, they looked to me like professionally printed signs. So I got her posing with these players in the team store who were signing autographs, holding up the sign she has with their names. One was Jared and one was Brandon. So she goes to the game with literally the entire roster of, with signs for every single player, and holds up individually signs for every single player. I kind of wish I'd talked to her further and maybe gotten a story about her. Kind of same with the Dickster. I met him in the 9th inning, and the game ended almost immediately, and it was kind of a chaotic scene, and I didn't get to talk to him too much. So what you see in that tweet is unfortunately about all I have with the Dickster. But ballparks like Daytona really do bring out that old school fan base because they've been a team for so long. It's an old ballpark, a ton of history, and to meet a guy like the Dickster, who knows how old he is, but that guy's been around. He's seen some things, and there were 8 seats This is down the third baseline that said the Dixter. So he owns 8 seats, but there's only one Dixter.
Ben, on the road, continuing this trip after this swing through Charlotte. Asheville's on the docket. Johnson City's on the docket. What else is coming up on this trip?
Yeah, tomorrow night I'll be in Asheville. They're playing as the Hippies, and that alternate identity started because the Greenville Drive, I guess, insulted them and called them the Asheville Hippies, and then Asheville was like, yeah, you're right, we're the Hippies. So they're going to play as the Hippies, kind of tie-dye uniform. It's Thirsty Thursday, and I learned this last time I was in Asheville and wrote a story about it, so unfortunately I can't write another story about it. But Asheville actually was the first team to do Thirsty Thursday and trademarks the term Thirsty Thursday. They allow other affiliated minor league teams to use it, but one of the reasons you probably won't see it outside of minor league baseball, or if you do, it might not last very long, is because it's a trademark term, and you're technically legally not allowed to have Thirsty Thursday unless you're an affiliated minor league baseball team, and that's because Asheville Tourists own the trademark. So I'll be in Asheville tomorrow. They're going to be the Hippies, and it's the home of the original Thirsty Thursday. So we'll see what comes about there. Then going to Johnson City. I went to the Appy League 2 years ago and did every single team, and Johnson City was where I stayed for the first 5 nights of the trip. And yet I got rained out. So once I got to this area again, I was like, if I can fit Johnson City in the schedule, I'll give them a chance at rain out redemption. So looking forward to that. And then going back to Bristol, baseball as it was meant to be in its purest form, a ballpark that looks almost like an American Legion field, no full-time employees, but really excited to see that again. And one of the reasons I extended the trip to go to Bristol on Saturday is that Dale Murphy will be in attendance, so I'll get to interview him, which I think is pretty cool. He's a special guest. And also the governor of Virginia will be in town. He's throwing out the first pitch at all 9 Virginia minor league teams this season. And so hopefully I can interview him as well about his minor league travels, and we can, can compare notes on minor league ballparks and public policy as well.
Benjamin Hill is on Twitter. He is at Ben's Biz. You can check out the blog, bensbiz.mlblogs.com, which has all the updates on the stops along this trip and all the rest of them. And Ben, travel safe, man. Enjoy it.
Thanks, guys. I will have the best time I possibly can, and next week when I talk to you, I'll be back in the office like this was all a dream.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Big thanks again to the 7th-ranked prospect in the San Francisco Giants organization, Shaun Anderson, a couple of segments ago, who you can follow on Twitter at Shaun Anderson, Shaun, S-H-A-U-N, Anderson37, and Benjamin Hill as well, who is on the road in Charlotte today. MILB.TV will get you set for all the postseason races across the minor leagues, and we got our eyes on some stuff this weekend. Sam, what are you watching?
Yeah, so I've got my eye. You'll have to get to this game quickly if you're listening to this on Thursday when we do put this up. Michael Kopech will be taking the mound for the Charlotte Knights. That's one night after Ben Hill will be there, so I can't tell you to look for Ben Hill in the stands. But that's interesting because Kopech is coming off an 11 strikeout outing last time out at Durham, July 14th. Only walked one batter. That's really good for him this year. He's walked 57 batters in 88 third innings. So control has been a real issue for him at AAA. Really seemed to settle down that last time out against the Bulls. Can he kind of carry that into this start? That will be big. Also, Eloy Jimenez, who I feel like we talk about week in, week out. He's now healthy. He's back with Charlotte. I think he homered just the other night. He's starting to get back into the swing of things. So that's, those are the 2 best prospects in the White Sox system, really. And the fact that they will be taking the same field just one stop away from moving to the south side will be really fun to see. So if you get a chance and you're listening to this on Thursday, find your way to MILB.TV, watch the Charlotte Knights take on the Pawtucket Red Sox at 7 o'clock Eastern. What do you got, Tyler?
The man is back in the Eastern League. Vlad Guerrero Jr. has been reinstated to the AA New Hampshire Fisher Cats. We kind of initially heard that Vlad, when he was back from his injury, would go straight up to AAA Buffalo, but he is going to be back with AA New Hampshire. They are at home taking on the Harrisburg Senators this weekend from Thursday through Sunday, and so Vlad, as it looks right now, will be back in the lineup for New Hampshire against Harrisburg this weekend. That's got to be really annoying if you're Harrisburg. Like, oh, well, congratulations. You get to be the first team to see Vlad when he comes back.
Yeah. Oh, it's so nice to see you. Oh, you're
so
looking
great.
healthy.
Great to have you back here. That's fantastic.
Which knee was it again? The left one?
So that's exciting.
Please don't actually hurt Vlad. I don't mean to make it sound like that.
We don't ever want to see Vlad hurt again. But Vlad, I would think if Vlad gets off to another scorching tear at AA, he's probably not long for New Hampshire. So if you're
right, well, there was that story, a couple of weeks ago that came out that he was going to be moving to Buffalo when he got fully healthy. So so he was in the GCL for a bit. He moved to Dunedin, I think, for a game. And now he's going to be back with New Hampshire. So maybe this won't be long at all. It's really just moving up the ladder, making his way slowly north. And then he'll be in Buffalo by the end of the month. I wouldn't be surprised by that.
Could very well be. But if you are a Fisher Cats fan, a Blue Jays fan, or just somebody who wants to watch a dude crush at the plate, Vlad Guerrero Jr. will be back on MILB.TV this weekend. And that'll do it for the 169th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Our biggest thanks again to Shaun Anderson, to Benjamin Hill, and to you for tuning in. He's Sam Dykstra. I'm Tyler Maughan. We'll talk to you next week.